Today. Yeah, is it a great day to be a Republican? Yeah, I thought so too. Welcome to Fayette County, beautiful Fayette County. I'm Lois Colcourse. I am your state senator in Fayette County. Now, I know we've got some Colorado County here. We've got some Bastrop County. Any other county besides Lee County? We got Lee County. I'm your state senator there. Any other counties out here? Okay, we got people from all over this part of the state of Texas. And I want to tell you that this is a beautiful part of the state of Texas, and so important that you have the governor, the greatest governor in the United States of America. Yep. In the greatest state of America, joining us today in this beautiful and important part of this state. So I stand before you as your state senator, and there is nothing that makes my heart beam more to be Governor and Kelly, Comptroller Hancock, and Representative Kitzman in a part of the state that I was born and raised in, and I am 6 generations from. And I want to tell you something. When we travel the state of Texas, when we travel America, when we travel abroad, when somebody asks you where you're from, what do you say? I am from Texas! Because we are truly the greatest state in the nation. So today, we're going to get to hear from Governor Abbott. We're going to hear from some candidates. I know there's a lot of candidates in the room. Raise your hand if you're a candidate on this primary ballot. Yep, I am too. And I want to tell you, thank you for your courage to put your name out there, to talk about the issues that are important to Texas. Because I've got to tell you, they're coming for Texas. And Governor, I know you're going to talk about great issues and things that we have done. But the Texas miracle and the things that we have done lead this nation, and other states look to us. Because I will tell you, and I said this in Harris County, and I'm going to say it right here. I was with him in Harris County this week. So goes Texas, so goes the nation. So we're going to go vote in this primary, and then when we elect our primary candidates, we're going to go to the polls in November in a strength that that has never been seen in this nation, to show that all of those liberals, that Texas cannot be bought, Texas cannot be taken, and I say proudly from a senator that can really say, come and take it. You will not take Texas, because we are Republican and conservative strong. And so I will tell y'all this, that we are on the right side of history, but we can only stay on the right side of history with you. Governor, Kelly, Stan, right here, you see people that have been chairman of the parties, you see precinct chairs, you see this is the heart and soul of the grassroots. And we are going to depend on you in rural Texas to come out and vote, to tell our story, to call people across this great state, to back candidates like me and others here today. So I want to say welcome to Fayette County. Welcome to this beautiful part of Texas. It is wonderful and great, and we are leading the nation. And I am proud to introduce a friend and a colleague. We served in the state Senate together. He served on my committee. We worked on a lot of different issues, conservative issues, and he is now he is the Comptroller of the state of Texas. Wow, Kelly, I never thought I'd say that. And he is also a candidate for Comptroller of the state of Texas. Help me welcome Kelly Hancock.
We did serve together, and y'all and hard worker here. Y'all probably understand. You see this morning why we always hid the Red Bull in the Senate. We didn't want Lois to get any more Red Bull. She didn't need more energy. And she brings that energy each and every day to represent y'all in the state Senate. I am Kelly Hancock. I am your acting comptroller. Thanks to my good friend, Governor Abbott. I did serve in the Senate until June. In July 1, when Glenn Hager went to be Chancellor of Texas A&M, I assumed the duties of the comptroller's office. That happens every time. They just can't help themselves. I've got one I worked out with my son this morning who's an Aggie. But a lot of times what you hear on the campaign trail is a lot of rhetoric. a lot of rhetoric on the campaign trail. What I'd rather do today is just tell you what we've done just since July in the Comptroller's office. Does that work? Yeah. You tired of rhetoric? You ready for results? Yeah. All right, well, let me tell you some results. One of the first things we did, and Governor and I, and Lois as well, and Stan, we spent billions of your dollars securing the border under the Biden administration because the federal government was exempt from any border security, anything dealing with illegal immigration, and we spent billions of your dollars. Well, in the great big beautiful bill, there's $11 billion that's coming back to refund Texas for the money we spent. And it's our time to get that back, and we're going to get that back and make sure we use it to get it back to you who had to spend it during the Biden administration, who, frankly, when it came to border security, was worthless. Fortunately, we had a very great governor who stepped up and said, President Trump started this wall. We'll keep it going until he gets back in office again, and that's exactly what we did. But we're working to get your $11 billion back so that we can get that money back to you. But the other thing that happened when I stepped into the office is just a few months, maybe a month and a half, Governor Abbott, after seeing what had happened in the courts with higher education and DEI and what we did as elected officials in getting DEI out of education, Governor Abbott said, I want this out of state government. I want this out of our agencies. And I got in there and I looked and I said, there's a program called HUB, Historically Underutilized Business, HUB. It might as well be spelled DEI. It was a race-based and gender-based program that gave preferential treatment simply based on race rather than treating all of you equally. We got rid of DEI. No sense talking about it in rhetoric. It's gone, and when we got rid of it, we took it out of the rules. What happened there? Every agency. That's what we do. I am your chief financial officer when it comes to procurements, when it comes to contracts. We write the rules, the other agencies follow it, and you know what we told them to do? You buy based on best value. That's what our citizens deserve, is best value for their tax dollars so that we don't waste tax dollars, and we're prioritizing what is best value. So we got rid of DEI in the program. We also started in September launching the largest school choice program in the nation, Texas Education Freedom Accounts, giving parents and children the opportunity to choose the education that was best for them, that fits them best. And we set records on day one. 8,000 within the first hour, 42,000 within the first day. We're well over 110,000 students that for the first time get to decide what is best for them and utilize those resources that were provided. The largest, we're going to be, in our first year, the third largest program in the country. But we ran into some issues there because we're responsible as a chief financial officer working for our great CEO, protecting your dollars. And we ran into schools that were way too friendly to foreign adversaries and had connections to foreign adversaries. We also ran into schools that had hosted, had events, and were way too friendly to terrorist organizations. Well, we couldn't let your money go to those organizations. And so, yes, we have school choice for the first time. And, yes, tax dollars will be flowing to make sure students have that choice. But not a single dollar will go to an entity, a school, anything associated with a terrorist organization or foreign adversaries. Not under my watch. We're not going to let it happen. Your tax dollars are protected. Our responsibility is to you. We're going to run that office like a business. That is my background. I went off on my own from the corporate world in 2004, built a business that God's blessed to the point that I'm able to do this and serve the state. And it is one of the greatest jobs I've ever had. We're the 8th largest economy in the world. And Governor Abbott asked me to come and be responsible for your money and make sure that we operate with transparency and accountability. And we're going to do that each and every day I'm in office. And I want you to help me stay in office. The name's Kelly Hancock. I am running for Comptroller, and I would appreciate your vote. When you go to the polls, Kelly Hancock under the Comptroller, appreciate your support. We want to keep bringing home results for you and not rhetoric. Thank you all very much. Now I get the privilege of introducing a friend and a man that represents you extremely well in Austin. And you know what? He does a good job of representing you when he's not in Austin, which is just as important. Being in the community, listening more than talking, which is rare in a politician. Your representative, my friend, Stan Kitzman.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. What a great day to be a Republican in Fayette County, Texas. If you're not from here, if you're from one of our neighboring counties or even from another state, welcome to House District 85. And on behalf of Senator Colhorst and I, we're certainly glad to have you here today. We're here today to celebrate being Republicans. We're here because we have the correct ideas and the right philosophy about government. We believe in more freedom, less taxes, less government. We believe in you being able to live your life as you see fit. And that's Republicans. That's what we were doing in the years when we flipped Texas. And as young as I look, I was around back then. When we flipped Texas from being Democrat to Republican, when we flipped these local counties from being Democrat to Republican, it was about inspiring people to join us and say, you know what? I believe in those Republican values. My old party doesn't reflect what I really believe, and Republicans are my home. And Governor, you were there part of that, and that's work. I don't know if evangelize is the right word, but we preached it. And that's what we still do today, because being Republicans, we have the right philosophy on how to let you have as much freedom as you have and how much we need to restrict government and make sure that government's doing what it's supposed to do. I can't tell you how proud I am to represent Fayette County along with the other 5 counties in my district. To be in Austin when that's required. Hopefully we don't have many special sessions this next year, but that's the man. He gets to decide. But to be there and take care of these issues, do things like get DEI out of our schools and universities. Make sure that men and perverts aren't in little girls' restrooms or locker rooms. Making sure that it is a crime in Texas to transition a child. We don't believe in that. But also making sure that on tax cuts, and we cut your property taxes as much as possible. I'm sure the governor's got a lot more to say about that because we're not through. But $51 billion is a pretty good start on cutting people's taxes. Getting your homestead exemptions raised. Making all those things happen so we can do a better job with the money we do have and make sure you get to keep more in your pocket. I want to give you a little perspective how important it is for you to go out and vote. We as Americans take that for granted because nobody's there trying to blow up the poll, nobody's there trying to assassinate candidates, and nobody's there threatening your family or your person when you have the opportunity to vote. And still we can't seem to get much of the population to participate. So you being here today, you encouraging your neighbors is important. And I just want to give you a personal story. I was in Iraq in 2005 when those people got to vote for the first time on their own accord. I watched them when they held up their purple finger and had tears streaming down their face. And I didn't have to agree with whatever they decided. I'm just saying they got to go to the polls for the first time in their lifetimes without fear. And that was an incredible moment for me. I came from being a poll judge and a precinct chair and all that. I thought I'd lived all that. But I got to see firsthand what an oppressed people felt like and what they got to do when they finally got to do it on their own with that purple finger. It's an incredible moment, Governor. It really is. And I want to thank each of you for caring enough about your community, caring enough about your county and Texas to participate. Please go out and encourage your neighbors, encourage your family that, yes, it's your duty as a citizen, but it's such a precious thing. And it's so easy. You got 2 weeks of early voting. There's no excuses. But thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. I know you wanted to hear the governor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the #1 governor in the state of Texas. This is the man that's leading our agenda, not only as Republicans, but for the state of Texas, legislatively and otherwise. He's the man with the vision that's going to cut your property taxes even more. and he's the man that's been leading the way for these years. That's another thing. You realize that most people don't know any other governor than Greg Abbott? That's not a bad thing, though, because Republicans have provided the leadership and put a man in place that still inspires people every day. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm inspired to bring you the great governor of the state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott.
Howdy, how y'all doing? Listen, thank everybody for being here. This is, you know, I could be a lot of places in Texas right now, but the most important place for me to be is right here. And that's because I'm looking at the fighting force right here, the fighting force that's going to ensure that Republicans prevail once again in these elections here in 2026. You got a great slate of candidates. One person I'm here for is Stan Kissman. Listen, he's up for re-election. He's done a fantastic job in the Texas House of Representatives. You have to have a strong conservative voice fighting for you in Austin, Texas, and that is exactly what Stan Kissman does. It's what Kelly Hancock has done for a decade in the Texas Senate, fighting for your values across the entire state, now serving as the acting comptroller. You got the best possible comptroller you could have in Kelly Hancock. Please vote for Kelly Hancock. And, of course, you know well your own local senator. There you go, Lois Kolkhorst. No one's more conservative. No one gets things done more than Lois Kolkhorst in the Texas Senate. You are very, very fortunate to have her as your voice in the Texas Senate. But listen, I'm here because, we got to turn out the vote. One thing that Lois talked about, and that is, listen, the Democrats are coming for us. And when she said that, she didn't just mean the Democrats in Texas. She meant Democrats across the country. You got people from socialist cities like Austin and Houston and Dallas coming for you. You got people from California, New York. Think of Mandami the Commie. You got people like that who want to turn Texas blue. It's up to you to ensure that does not happen in 2026. And when I'm talking about these socialists, it's not like some theoretical concept. Let's just talk about a couple of things we did this past session to address what the socialists are trying to do in the state of Texas. If you go over to Houston or Austin or San Antonio, we have these socialist judges who are letting dangerous criminals out onto the street to murder people after they've already been arrested for murder. That's outrageous. And I worked with Stan, I worked with Lois, I worked with Kelly Hancock, and we passed a law to make sure that if you are arrested for murder, by God, you're going to stay behind bars and not be let back out onto the street. And go back in time, it was just a couple of years ago when you saw an uprising in Texas like you saw in Minneapolis, like you saw in New York and California and Portland, Oregon. Remember the defund the police movement? When I saw that trying to gain hold in Texas, I said, by God, I'm not going to let that happen in Texas. And so I worked with these legislators and got to the finish line, a law that I signed saying we are going to defund any city that defunds their police in our state. In Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, period. But these dangerous threats, they're coming from more than just socialists in our large cities around here. I know you may be thinking here in Fayette County, you don't have to worry about that, but the socialist members of the legislature, the socialists who are running on the ballot as Democrats, they can disrupt your lives in Fayette County as much as they can destroy lives in Harris County. But another threat that we got threats coming from overseas. And that's why Lois actually spearheaded the effort that Stan and Kelly also voted for, and that is we passed in Texas the toughest ban on foreign adversaries like China from buying our land in Fayette County or any place in the state of Texas. We also worked on something else, something we've seen creeping up, And we said, you know what? We're drawing a line in the sand because it's time that we addressed it. And that is, we signed a ban on these Islamic radical Sharia city developments like Epic City and shut them down. I also declared these very dangerous terrorist organizations like Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as foreign terrorist organizations, saying they can no longer exist in the state of Texas. But listen, there's a lot more that has to be done, and a lot more that these folks are working on. A big reason why we need to return them to office. And on the Republican side, we do things that are just common sense. But you know, people act like there's even though it's common sense, these socialist Democrats are against it. One fight you've seen waging up in Washington, D.C. is election integrity. We've already been there and done that in the state of Texas. This last session, these great representatives, they supported and got across the finish line a law, a common sense law, and that is only U.S. citizens can vote in elections in Texas. And we already passed the toughest voter ID law in the United States of America, making sure that we're going to put a stop to illegal voting and cheating at the ballot box in the state of Texas. So let me tell you something real quick about this school choice stuff. School choice, listen, this is a part of a process. You know, if all I did was to get up here today and to read off all the different ways in which Texas ranks #1 economically or whatever the case may be, that'd be a 30-minute speech unto itself. We're #1 for jobs. We're #1 for cattle and cotton, #1 for oil and gas. The list goes on. I say it's time we set our sights on another #1 ranking. Texas must rank #1 in educating our children. In this session, we listen, that's more than a slogan. It's a strategy. In this session, we passed the details of the strategy to make sure that Texas is going to be ranked #1. A part of it is school choice, empowering parents to choose the school that's best for their child. But we know full well that most of our kids are still going to go to their local public schools. And that's great. That's where I went to school. And we want to make sure our local public schools are going to have the resources they need to compete on a playing field so that in Texas we have the best public schools, the best private schools, the best charter schools, the best home schools, with the best education across the board. And so what we did, we provided the largest funding increase ever for our public schools, more than $8 billion more to fund public education in the state of Texas. And you all know the most important thing in education, and that's having a good quality teacher. We wanted to make sure that we provided the resources to both hire and to retain the best teachers. And that's why we provided an all-time record, the highest teacher pay raise ever, more than $4 billion going to pay our teachers more here in the state of Texas. I think I can confidently say that Fayette County is a rural county, and that the ISD here qualifies as a rural ISD. The reason why I'm telling you that is because if you're a teacher in a rural ISD, you got double the amount of pay raise that they got in Houston or Dallas or some other place. We respect what's happening in our rural areas, and we want to make sure our teachers are compensated well for that. But listen, we can have the best teachers in the world, but if they have the worst curriculum in the world, that's not going to do any good. And so we advanced curriculum reform far more than ever before. We wanted to make sure that these kids are not going to have indoctrination crammed down their throats. And that's exactly why these legislators got to my desk a law that bans DEI in our public schools. Again, this is just common sense. They got to my desk a law that bans boys and girls sports in our public schools. So know this. There are so many Democrats who voted against that. The people who are trying to take over the state right now want to try to impose things like boys and girls sports. They want to deny the ability of requiring U.S. citizens to be the only ones who can vote. This is crazy stuff that you need to be aware of. Something else that's crazy, and that is the cost of living that you're having to deal with. You know, one thing I hear as I crisscross the state, and that is the rising cost of insurance. Insurance is a pain for small businesses like this. It's a problem for homeowners, people who drive a car. Everybody has to pay for insurance. Insurance, I hear, has doubled or tripled in a matter of a year. And it's time that we go to Austin, Texas, and cut in half your insurance costs in this state. It is just one of the reasons why it's getting so unaffordable to live in a home in Texas. The other big reason, of course, is because of your rising property taxes. Let me tell you what we did, and let me tell you what we got to do. What we did this session is what we've done many sessions since I've been governor, and that is to increase your homestead exemption that is exempt from school district property taxes. When I became governor, that homestead exemption was $15,000. When you look at what we passed this last session and what's going to be on your property tax bill now is the first $140,000 of your homestead is not going to be subject to the school district property tax. Instead of you paying for it, it's going to be the state of Texas that pays for it. And if you were a senior, none of whom are here today, but if you were a senior, the first $200,000 of your homestead would be exempt from the school district property tax. Could tell maybe saw a senior over there claiming to be a senior to get that exemption. But let me tell you the deal. We've done that over and over and over again. And I'll be honest with you. There's never been a single Texan come up to me and say, you know what, Governor, I'm perfectly happy with my property tax bill. Because no one is. We know that it continues to go up. And so I have solutions that will be a part of my legislation this next session that will more than cut in half your property tax bill. Number one, I'm going to piece it out for you. It's very simple. Number one, stop the spending that leads to property tax increases to begin with. The state of Texas has to live within spending limits. Every property tax and jurisdiction has to live within those very same spending limits, just like businesses do, just like you do. Number two, you should not have to pay more property taxes on your homestead unless you have the ability to vote in an election for that. There should be an election for every property tax increase and require 2/3 vote before your taxes can go up. Next is your appraisal. Your appraisal is skyrocketing. And one reason for it is because current Texas law allows your appraisal to go up 10% a year. And you can realize the math on that. After a few years, you are priced out of your home. That has to stop. We must reduce that 10% per year appraisal to no more than just 3% a year. And you're having to fight this appraisal process every single year, year after year, and that's just ridiculous. We must stop the year after year appraisal and the battle against that and reduce appraisals to only once every 5 years. If that is all that we did, everything I just said, your property taxes would be going down. But when you add this last component alone will slash your property tax bill in half. And that is your property tax bill is using you and your homestead to pay for public schools. I say it should be the state of Texas, not your homestead, that pays for public education in this state. You will finally be able to afford to live in your own home, and your property taxes will be contained for the rest of your entire life. But there's a problem that comes along with this. The problem is going to be the fact of the matter is when we get all this stuff done, when we slash your insurance costs and slash your property tax bill and some other things, helping out especially our small businesses in the state of Texas, Texas is going to be the most affordable state in the United States of America. And you know what happens after that? You do. All these people are going to come in from California and New York and Illinois, all those other places. Well, there's a reason why I'm your governor, because I thought about that. And here's a solution to fix that. And that is we are going to stop building that border wall on our southern border, and we're going to start building a wall on our northern border, our eastern border, and our western border. Keep those invaders out. And that brings me down to the last point I want to talk about. We got to keep Texas, Texas. Is that simple. We got to understand what's at stake in this election. There are people from other states. There are socialists in our own state that they want to destroy Texas and our values. I'm looking over here right now, and I think a family. I know I see some kids. And I want these, how old are y'all? 8? We got an 8 and 11-year-old. Listen, all of us have an obligation to ensure this 8-year-old and 11-year-old are going to be able to inherit the Texas that we inherited, and that's why I go to fight for you every single day to protect the future of these kids. It is a battle, a well-funded battle that George Soros is involved in, funding in Texas these socialists trying to hijack our state. But here's the deal. The people in this room are like most of the people in Texas outside of this room. We put God over government, right? We put freedom over fear. And one thing that we all believe in, and that is the inherent greatness of what it means to be a Texan. And by God, we're going to fight for that. And I got to tell you something. When we band together, if you join me and everybody go vote in this election, we are going to ensure that we keep Texas a state that's going to be preventing all these socialist leftists from taking over our state. And by God, we are going to keep Texas, Texas. But here's the deal. It's not going to happen with speeches. It's not going to happen with applause. It's not going to happen with TV commercials. There's only one way that it happens, and that is if you go vote. You guys have been such a great crowd. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick around here and take a picture with anybody who wants a picture. Hold on. Under the requirement that you commit that when you get done taking a picture, you go vote. I'm going to make it easy on you because I have right here, what I have is that the closest location you can go to is the Fayette County Courthouse. You know where that is. Here's to some. There you go. And hey, so say that again real loud. How far is that from here? All right, here's the point. Here's the point. And I'll fight anybody who disagrees with this. I can roll over there. I can roll over there in less than 10 minutes. You can get there in 5 minutes. So before you go to lunch, let's take a picture. You go vote and then go have a great lunch knowing you've done your part to keep Texas, Texas. Thank you all. God bless you all. And God bless the great state of Texas.